Hello, everyone, and welcome to Best Motion Picture 2010. Today we'll be discussing The Social Network and Sex and the City 2.
Overall thoughts?
This is not a good movie.
Yeah, it was very, you said it, hard to watch.
The, driest possible love story I've ever seen in my life was the entire first half of the movie. And then the second half was just, is this cultural appropriation? Is this propaganda?
Multiple times, RJ was like, what is the plot? And I was like, I don't really know. One is struggling because she thinks that her nanny is sleeping with her husband. The other quits her job because she is being mistreated at work.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's like, I can't be a full-time mom.
Miranda had the least story out of all of them.
Yeah, it was a sprinkling. It was like, oh yeah. Just...
and honest to God, I wouldn't have got that feeling about her really struggling with being a full-time mother until that scene at the very end.
At the bar scene.
Yes, which was arguably the best scene of the movie.
I thought it was the most real scene.
Correct.
And it was two mothers discussing motherhood.
I will say, this movie did make me cry because of those two struggling as moms. When Miranda shows up just at that moment for Brady to win the science fair, I cried immediately.
Yeah,
I cried immediately.
That was really nice.
And then when Charlotte, not 10 minutes later in the movie, lipstick in my Valentino bag, quite literally, red paint on my Valentino skirt.
Right.
And Alice Eve just looks her in the eyes, goes, girls, let's go play in my room. And that moment of that understanding of that struggling mom, I don't know, as someone that has worked extensively with children and young moms,
right,
I immediately felt that and cried.
Right. Of
the limited story there is here, I feel like there's two themes. And one is women showing that there's more dimension to them than just finding love and being married and being mothers. And the other is what makes a marriage work.
Carrie and Big.
Yeah. Jesus H. Christ, that was horrible and so hard to watch.
I don't remember, I know the first movie, he doesn't show up to their wedding.
Yes.
I didn't realize that they got married at the end of it, I guess, because in this one they are married, and I was like, huh?
Yeah. I can't stand him, and everyone knows Carrie is the worst character of the four of them. And naturally she had the most boring, unrelatable, dumb story.
Big wants 2 days off a week. I was thinking, there were some good moments. You make your own rules for marriage. And they mention it with the whole cheating gay relationship.
Oh, but then they say only in the states where they're not married.
Yeah. I just feel like I'm more like Charlotte. What do you mean 2 days off?
Bitch, Charlotte not getting it is very Anna listening to me agree to be in an open relationship.
Yeah, couldn't be me, I guess. I don't know. I mean, okay, so I do have 2 days off for my relationship a week, basically. I miss him. We well, that's, I don't know, I guess they would also probably text each other or call each other if they wanted, if they needed, whatever.
We never saw them have 2 days off from marriage, so we'll just never know what that reality was.
Right, but explain that now.
I just watched that scene happen and Charlotte going over and over again like this, and I remember being in that relationship and talking about how I was feeling and what it meant and what rules were, and you were like, but this, or what do you mean this, or what about this? And I was and then when Carrie couldn't explain it, I was like, that freeze I remember so vividly of being am I being a fuck up, and also I'm upset, well, not you upset me, but just thinking about it and being that's the first time it occurred to me, maybe this isn't normal. It's a big part of this movie that we didn't discuss at all because that's how irrelevant it is and how little of a plot there is. She kissed Aiden. That was the big twist of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but in the end, there are no consequences.
Nope.
I mean, you think Big left because he took his shitty TV gift?
Yeah.
You think Big leaves and then he just goes and buys her a ring, a black diamond, because she's not like other women, and is you can't do that ever again.
Yeah.
And you have to say real vows because you didn't at our wedding, which I'm pretty sure we never saw their actual wedding.
Samantha.
Oh, Samantha's
about
just
owning her body as a woman and aging gracefully.
right. You know, this whole thing. They go to Abu Dhabi to on a business trip for her, basically, because she works in PR and is then wanting to promote the hotel that they're staying in and everything else as, you know, luxury vacation, play up, you know, that it's the Middle East, but it's fun and it's a new Middle East.
Oh, look how wonderful the Middle East is.
But that whole thing
that
was
Samantha's thing.
It was good PR for them. Abu Dhabi, not a bad thing.
No.
But ended up, I think it wanted to be more forward thinking than it actually came across.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because we've said it, it's a racist movie.
Oh, that was the stories. There are 4 stories.
I would say like a 2.
A 2? It's okay. So it was unnoticeable.
Yeah.
There was no story.
The direction, artistic vision, and acting.
So these women were playing the same roles they've always played.
Yeah, these women are the women. Thinking of her gay friends.
Right. Who are also playing the same people they've always played.
Right. In the show, did they really hate each other?
Yes. Yeah. So like the fact
I said, was this huge?
Yes. And as a person that liked the show, watching this, I was mad that they just forced the 2 gay people to be together. Regarding the men, those men probably don't have to do those Middle Eastern accents.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. They're butlers. Are, I would say, probably either English or American actors. They probably made them have those accents.
Right.
Maybe they are a Middle Eastern actor, but the accents we'll just say they sounded more played up.
One thing that will always be impeccable at Sex and the City is fashion cautioning. The fact that Carrie wears a cobalt gown with a yellow Louboutin around the house. You never miss. She never misses.
The only time she misses in that movie is the newspaper dress when Mr. Big surprises her on a date.
That dress is a crime. It's a hideous gown. I hate the hem. It fits her body nicely, but like God, newsprint has a gown. Next.
Yeah, everyone's fashion was really great.
Mm-hmm.
10 years on,
fashion's perfect.
I'm still would wear everything but that newspaper dress that Carrie wore.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the set pieces, the hotel, I know I have written in my notes, like, was this an actual Middle Eastern, like, set designer, production designer? Because I don't think so. Some of the places in the hotel looked legitimate. I don't know, like, looked real. Some of them to me looked like set pieces where people was like, oh, what's Middle Eastern? And then just did it, and it didn't seem authentic. Now, maybe that is my white American perception. And I don't know if that was supposed to be intentional, because this hotel was supposed to be a hotel attracting more European and Western American visitors, or it was branded that way. The design, I was like, was it intended to be like look American with just Middle Eastern flair? But I'm like, you're in the Middle East. I feel like there is a disconnect, and I feel like maybe a white person designed it. I don't know. For technical and art, I mean, I would still give it a 3 affair. It was good. It looked nice. There was never any times where I couldn't see what was on the screen. I thought the direction was like fine.
It looked and felt like an episode of the show. I'll dare I say I give it a 4. It's not good, and I'm not impressed, but it felt like a long format of the show. I'm gonna give it a 4. There was like a ton of gay representation. Maybe not always great, but it's like, we did not have same-sex marriage in more than like 4 states at this time.
Right.
So this was like, what's up, y'all?
Right.
Limp wrist too.
And Big kept calling it a gay wedding. And Carrie was like, it's just a wedding. I thought, yeah, great gay representation. Or not great, but it had it. And they weren't ashamed. And yes, it kind of was the only time we really visited those characters.
At first I thought they were just making terrible jokes about Samantha's butler being named Abdul like Paula, and she's like, I think he's gay, and I was like, there's no need, this is just making fun of us. And then they really did make that character gay, and I was like, I lived.
Yeah. Just Liza Minnelli. Like,
Liza Minnelli doing
Single Ladies with two Liza Minnelli look-alike dancers.
Yeah.
We want to talk about gay representation.
That's as gay as it gets.
I honestly don't know how you can get gayer.
Yeah.
Speaking of two gays. The gayness of the wedding, but also the movie. Like, I don't want to be like, if you're gay if you watched Sex and the City, the TV show, because that's not necessarily true for everyone. But I feel like if you were a guy watching it, you are more than likely gay. I don't know. I'm not going to generalize, but I'm going to generalize.
What I will assert, and I will generalize, of all the women I knew staying up at night on TBS to watch this program from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., we gay.
In 2010, yeah, it was probably like sort of progressive, but also it's that 90s progressive that RuPaul is, where, you know, like, you're not actually that progressive.
Yeah. I would give this a 3. Because while it is they're at least throwing the dart, even if it's not hitting a target at all.
Yeah. For 2010 culture, that's a 3.
In today's culture, how does it fit in today?
It don't.
No, not even a little bit. The first line in the movie is racist. When Carrie says how New York, the greatest city on earth, traded for a handful of turquoise beads. Like, I'm not kidding. This movie was so racially charged off the bat.
Yeah. And they even made a comment, or Charlotte did, like, shouldn't we be more PC? And that was at the gay wedding. The movie did not become more PC.
What I'd like to say is, like, I'm part Palestinian. I grew up hearing different languages, not a ton. I won't pretend like we were this big, colorful Middle Eastern family. We were definitely still, like, those things were kind of swept under the rug for a bit. But this did not represent anything that I knew. And yes, no one in my family is Muslim, but my extended family, that is the case. And I will not say that this was something that seemed at all familiar to me.
I totally wouldn't. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
This don't fit in today.
It don't fit in today. I know that. I'm not saying it does, and I don't even know back then if I would have thought that it felt like good or right. I was disappointed is the least I could say. Like, it was
recoil. Yeah.
It was just yikes. Cultural relevance staying powder. Oh, that's like a 2 or a 1.
I'm giving it a 1.
I'll give
It has aged badly.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2 because it's just unnoticed. It's not like people talk about it because it's bad. It's just no one even thinks about it.
Yeah.
A marginalized person's representation, that I'd give a 4. That is good in terms of the gay.
Yeah. For gays, you'll give them a 4.
For gays, I'll give a 4.
For non-white
people, a 1 because it's bad.
Yeah. The only black people in the entire movie were those men that were the MCs when they did the horrific karaoke scene. That scene was an abomination.
Yes. I said, bro, leave the woman with the veil eating fries alone.
Oh, God.
Stop staring. Stop commenting. Stop watching her. Leave her alone. That she lifts up the veil to eat. Leave her alone. She's not an animal.
Right.
That pissed me off. Yeah, the lack of POC, black people, and everything else. There's still probably tons of movies coming out every year, though, that have less.
Yes.
That doesn't make it better. That doesn't
Right.
make this movie better, though, just because I have it. Because it's not good representation.
Right. I'm just going to lump us all together like all of the other people would, and I'm going to give this movie a 2. No 0.5s, just a 2.
Yeah.
Just a 2.
And then Manson Family Disclosure. To my knowledge, there's nothing about this movie that is like...
Oh, I missed the mark, you know?
Right, or I didn't understand or comprehend what was... Not comprehend, that sounds so mean. But...
No, I did not comprehend anything about the movie. I did not understand a single minute of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's not like I was like, what's going on? Like, if I didn't know this was a sequel and based off a show, then maybe I would be like, Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, but I was aware. I just didn't watch those things.
Right.
Manson Family Disclosure. I don't
No.
think there was any.
No. Yeah, it's a beautiful, gorgeous film, and I don't know. The only thing I do know that it was nominated for was
Best Picture. Oh.
Oh, besides that, Best Picture.
I'm an idiot. That's why we're doing the show.
We paired our terrible 2010 movie Sex and the City 2 with The Social Network because we felt that these movies had these mirroring themes of friendships and groups of friendships. And we see that with how they all interact and grow together as women outside of their love lives in Sex and the City 2. With that, let's take it over to The Social Network, a movie that is about Facebook and business and male friendships. You can't make 500 million friends without making a few enemies. Isn't that the tagline?
I remember really disliking this movie. I don't want to say when it came out, but over the years, going to watch this, I really put it off because I was like, I do not like this movie. Rewatching it, I was like, oh, why did I don't like this movie. The story is entertaining. It's involved. It's the most confusing thing is sometimes the questioning scenes with the lawyers. I think that's why I just used to get too confused, and I was probably watching on TV where I didn't know what lawsuits were going on against who and the times of them. I was confused. There was also definitely a point in the movie where I was like, oh, I would definitely watch to here, and then I would have to leave again because I was watching on TV. There got to be a certain point where I was like, oh, I don't really remember this. I vaguely remember this, but I don't remember a lot of it. But the story, I liked.
I loved this movie when it came out. My friends and I watched this over and over again at sleepovers. We quoted the Winklevoss twins all the time. I was obsessed with The Social Network when it came out. My friends and I were obsessed with Andrew Garfield. This was one of the movies for us. Fully. So, very different for us here. I love this movie.
Where source material from? Not a book, right?
What I found out is I did a lot of research for this one because I was like, how did it stack up for real? Because I cared. This movie, allegedly, Aaron Sorkin wrote this movie concurrent to the author of The Accidental Billionaires. He was writing his book based on depositions from the actual court scenes. And allegedly, he and Sorkin shared pages and details, and Sorkin says, we may have glanced at others' notes a few times, but they were completely separate bodies of work. Whereas other people allege that they were constantly comparing details and these things were written together. So that, to me, with the court scene, that's those were meant to be real, and they were meant to mirror what was really happening at the time.
Yeah.
And when it was originally pitched, people were like, you have to cut it down, it's too long. And Fincher threw the script back at Sorkin and said, read it out loud to me and I'm going to time you. And that's exactly how long this movie is. Crazy. The moment Eduardo walks in, he's immediately shown as the perfect foil for Mark. They immediately set up that they're perfect foils.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel not growing up, but, rewatching it, watching it, whatever, on TV is definitely why I would be confused. Mm-hmm. Story, I would say a 4 or a 5. It's a toss-up because I think it could be confusing sometimes. I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm going to give it a 4 because I hate the Harvard is the fourth character feeling and the usage of women as props, I will say, which I'd like to get to later.
Yeah. The direction, the artistic vision, and the acting. David Fincher, being a film student, has been discussed. But I do like the direction of the movie, the intricateness of some of the, almost everything in the shot. And I feel like David Fincher is one of those directors, is very intentful about everything. I thought at times the movie was maybe a little too contrasty. There was a lot of shadows, and it was also really, really yellow. There was so much yellow in the movie. I don't think it was just my TV. And that's fine. I'm like, why? Takes me out of it, and I'm like, this is not real life. Anytime they were outside, it was fake CGI breath and fake snow, and I got on my nerves, and I could tell. So I was like, geez. Yeah. And then I thought of Corona.
Oh, because you could see it. The only thing I noticed visually about the movie at all was that when they were at Harvard, it was physically darker and was like that dark, oaky feeling of Harvard. And the fourth main character was Harvard. You know, I hated that. When they actually show the title, The Social Network, I did in fact get chills. Knowing what was going to happen in the movie, knowing what I was in for, and knowing where we live now. I don't think that was actually shot at Harvard. I think they said no. I think I read that it was like, that's not even Harvard.
Good. That was another note. I said, is this really Harvard?
No, it's not. Andrew Garfield was robbed of an Oscar for this movie. I think he lost to Jeffrey Rush for King's Speech.
He was nominated?
Yes. Andrew Garfield was for real nominated and robbed, in my opinion.
Well, I'll see from the other nominees, because I was like, I thought you meant he wasn't. I don't know. It made me, you know, want to hate Jesse Eisenberg. I thought Armie Hammer playing twins, and also like the speed, the rapidness at which they would talk. They, meaning just him, being two people.
Get up in this gig. He didn't play both of them.
They deepfaked one?
Yeah, and I had no idea. So I was like, Armie Hammer is really just doing everything, but then also actually acting with somebody else.
I knew that he was basically like deepfake. There was no way David Fincher.
Yeah.
But the acting, I thought, you know, they play great. USC, like Upper St. Clair in my head.
Oh, yeah.
Crew, Harvard, jock, Olympian.
God,
people.
yeah.
Armie Hammer, he was 23 at the time of filming. What a hunka hunka.
Yeah, I would literally, you said hunka hunka, and I was like biting my tongue to not say wowie zowie.
Jesse Eisenberg, holy shit, man. You make me hate you and Mark Zuckerberg so much. Good job.
Oh, Justin Timberlake is Sean Parker. The way Aaron Sorkin was jerking it the whole time he wrote those scenes. He was like, and Sean Parker's so cool. Oh, I'm gonna set him up to fail so bad.
Was this nominated for editing? Because that opening scene, the pacing, the everything, both the shot compositions, how sometimes they're in farther or out farther, but just the cutting. The editing in that scene, the editing with the breaths of the conversation, chef's kiss. Oh, sweet mama, that's the good stuff.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross with that score. Holy shit. Purposefully, he re-recorded it a couple of different times so the piano was like even further away from the microphone, because that's how much further away from reality and his friendships Mark Zuckerberg was. There was so much thought into this. 5 for artistic vision for me.
Yeah, I think technical and art is honestly a 5. I think is exceptional.
Zeitgeist. This was it.
I mean, I made a Facebook in like July of 2009, so it was extremely relevant. It was still on the rise though. I was a freshman in high school. Did you make your Facebook at that same time?
I made it in the 8th grade.
We were in middle school. There's no reason we should have been on Facebook, especially, no, it's for like college kids. And
yeah.
I was like, no,
literally
it's not.
Literally was. It's meant to only be for Ivy League college kids, you know?
Right. What were Harvard Facebooks? Did other schools have them? Like, and that's why it was like, was it a general college term? Like, people knew?
If you're older than us and you went to college around the time of like 2003 to 2005 and you understood the term Facebook before the website went up, let us know in the comments below.
In 2010, it was super relevant because everyone, if you didn't have a Facebook, was getting on Facebook.
Why on your Facebook page does it say that you're single?
The Facebook relationship status, the creation of it, whenever Mark is like sleeping at a desk and he's like, hey, that girl in your chemistry class, is she single? And that's what makes Mark think of it. Yeah. He had no idea what a stamp and badge it was going to be in culture.
Yeah, it changed our lives forever. Yeah.
Being Facebook official, that's a term.
Yeah.
And people take it seriously. Like, literally, people our age take it seriously. Me and RJ weren't Facebook official until last year, and he did it in secret. I got the notification that RJ Steamer is in a relationship with you, and I texted him.
To me?
I said, what is wrong? I don't think I was Facebook official with my one high school boyfriend.
Oh,
I don't think we like did that because it was a couple weeks and it was just making out.
I've never dated anyone who's publicly said that they are into me. because of the I can't put it on Facebook. It has to be part of it,
Yeah.
and I'm certain of it, because it cannot be me.
Being Facebook official changed everything.
Changed the game of dating in the modern era. I will say that very boldly.
But culturally, it fit into that climate.
Yeah. And it was also like the we're so obsessed with our phones. There's the start of like everything's on the phone. It's an app and it's a phone. Like Facebook app had just begun.
In the movie, it is in, you know, from 2003 to 2005.
Yeah.
They all have flip phones, and I was like, oh my gosh, even the, I don't know if they were billionaires yet, but even the people who running Facebook had flip phones. It exceptionally fits in 5 for 2010 culture.
Yeah. Oh, a quote by Sean Parker in the actual movie. Whatever that's gonna trip you up, you've done already. Private behavior is a relic of a time gone by. That shook me to my motherfucking core. Vulture wrote, at the time, the real Mark Zuckerberg may have a dismaying uncontent for privacy. Holy fucking shit. That is the legacy of Facebook now. It is selling our private information and dismantling our democracy with the spread of misinformation.
And I was like,
yeah.
making me pissed because of what Facebook has become. It was intended to just connect college kids.
Yeah.
And now everybody and their mother has a profile, and it has no way to adequately control misinformation. It just really, like, the world revolves around Facebook.
While this movie is about the creation of Facebook, it's not necessarily about Facebook.
Right.
And so it's like, I don't know, another thing I read online of like the social network, what does it mean today? This movie highlights our isolation and disconnectedness when watching it now more than it showed that part of it now. Like, as we look back and look at the development of the company, I feel like that is pretty true.
It's still extremely relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cultural relevance / staying power is a 5. It's exceptional, especially compared to other social networks that have died. Like, from 2010 to now, some of them earlier. Like, MySpace died in, like, 2013.
Club Penguin, she gone.
Tumblr, I feel like, had its rise and fall, though I know people still use it, and that might just be, like, more that I aged out. It might still be super popular amongst teenagers and high schoolers. I wouldn't know because I don't go on it every day for hours like I did in 2011. But Facebook, I unfortunately still go on pretty often. Like, honestly, maybe once a day to check the notifications, which are just Facebook memories. But I don't look at the notification. I just say, oh, what is it? Okay, and then quit out the app.
If my current employer did not communicate with the entire staff via Facebook, I don't know that I would have one at all.
But it's still extremely relevant. People still go on it. But is Mark Zuckerberg? I mean, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is.
Mm-hmm.
I think the movie's still relevant.
Yeah, I agree with you. Cultural relevancy, I'd say that I'm gonna give it a 4 because I think it has watching this now, if you're going back and thinking to watch it now, it changes the way you look at this movie. But if you're not thinking about it, then there's still not that staying power. People don't make jokes about the Winklevi anymore, even though the Winklevoss twins are literally in another lawsuit for another online bullshit thing right now.
The meme where it's the note that in the movie, it just says, you dick.
Yeah.
I will see that meme circulate once in a while. Same with Andrew Garfield's iconic line of, sorry, my Prada's at the cleaners and I don't have my you flip-flops. People, I will still, like, see that once in a while. But yeah, it's died down. I just still think, especially with it being on Netflix, I think it's more.
So, there, to my knowledge, are 2 speaking Black people in the movie. One is Erica Albright's friend, and the other person is the receptionist secretary that works with the dean. And then the third one, because I said 2, but I remembered, Rashida Jones is half Black, and she's also in this movie.
Right.
Brenda Song is also in this movie.
Brenda Song plays Alice. Or no, Christy.
Don't remember.
Her friend is also there. She, I think, speaks.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Divya Narendra is a very real, actual Indian person of Indian descent, and then Max Minghella is British and white.
Wait. The actor is white?
Yes. Aziz Ansari was pissed about this, and I think he had every right to be. That actor is a white man playing a person who's supposed to be from, like, India.
That's face crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy's white?
Yep, he is. I would say it is unnoticed. It's a 2. No, actually poor. I'm gonna go with poor. It's a 1.
Okay.
Marginalized representation, 1. Poor.
Yeah, 1 poor being that there's a white guy playing a South Asian character, the person. What about LGBT community? There was 0 gay people.
The only overt mentioning of the LGBT community in this movie is when a young gentleman calls Erica Albright the T word. He holds up a bra.
He says I got it from a T word.
Made me upset. And then I knew they ain't gonna be no gay people up in this movie.
Yeah.
However, that does not excuse that I would like to put my foot down and say this movie is a little bit gay because of that scene when they are at the house in LA and Sean Barker's standing there in the doorway and Mark Zuckerberg's like, Sean, what's up? And he's like, yo, man, you did it. You came to LA. He's like, yeah, man. Like, that's gay as hell.
Even if there is homoerotic undertones, it's undertones. And
yeah.
They weren't alluding to a relationship or anything between 2 men.
I would say a 2. Because there was not anything to assert into the historical narrative, even though they strayed from the history quite a bit.
I don't know. I would say 1, because there is 0 besides a slur.
Yeah.
Manson Family Disclosure.
Erica Albright doesn't exist. And Mark Zuckerberg was like, not only did she not exist, but I had a girlfriend for the entirety of this movie who was an Asian woman. So what's the point of cutting her out when we could have actually had a woman playing a real role and a real person in his life instead of the way that they use women as props?
Yeah, instead of the way they use Asian women as just for sex, and then Brenda Song is an abusive girlfriend towards Eduardo. They
use Brenda Song to make him look stable. Rashina Jones is there to make Mark Zuckerberg look like less of an asshole.
That's her last line.
Yeah, and they have Erica Albright there to make Mark seem human at all. The women are the props.
Oh yeah, I guess we barely talked about the Asian representation of the Asian girls, but they're used as like they're fetishized. Manson Family Disclosure, Erica Albright doesn't exist.
It didn't change the movie for me though.
I'd say it's a no. It doesn't change the movie, and honestly, at the very end, it's Mark submitting her a friend request, and that made me think he was like so pathetic. If she doesn't exist, I'm like, good, I'm glad. Like the bad things he blogged about her, I'm like, oh, did he blog about his? Okay.
That's real.
But it just changed it to a white girl?
No, it wasn't about her. It's about some other gal. The late night blogging was real.
But it wasn't about his girlfriend at the time. Mm-mm. I would have liked to see that.
Yeah.
Hey everyone.
Our outro got deleted for this episode of Best Motion Picture.
Yeah, so here's our scores, and tell us what you think at Silly Sickos and in the comments below.
Thank you so much. This one was super long. They're going to continue to be long. Peace.